At this point, I've seen quite a few of Mickey's Safety Club, and I have to say it's a pretty great concept. And generally, based on the title, I can tell what the content is going to be. But from What to Do at Home, I wasn't really sure what this would cover. And I have to say, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. This was released originally in 1989. It's directed by Leslie Hill, and Mickey Mouse takes two children through all kinds of home safety. Initially, I just assumed it would be things like don't use a hairdryer in the bathroom and not tripping over wires. Basically, I was assuming it would be how to not have an injury in the home. But actually, it's a lot more detailed than that. For example, I won't go over everything they cover, but we see a girl answering a phone and she's home alone, and Mickey explains what to do if you answer the phone on your own and somebody insists on talking to your parents. You must never tell them that you're home alone. Obviously, for today's audience, that's not always going to be relevant because not that many people have landlines. So if somebody was trying to get hold of their parents, they would probably phone their parents' mobiles. But for those who do have landlines, it's still important, and the child can't just avoid answering their phone because their parents might be phoning them to say they're, running late or whatever. So I was pretty impressed with that kind of information. It also looks at what to do if somebody goes to the door, and that is something that terrified me when I was at the age when I was starting to be left at home on my own. Just if my mother would go out to the shop. In fact, I remember very vividly the first time I was left home on my own. My mother went to the corner shop. It was 3 minutes away, and I spent the entire time looking out of the bedroom window watching for her because I was terrified. And this kind of thing would definitely help to not just reassure children on what to do if they're home alone, but also to make children realize that actually a lot of children are home on their own and you're not the only child on their own. And there are safety things that you can put in place to help make yourself feel better. I don't think at that time I would have known what to do if somebody had come to the door. I mean, I would have cowered in a corner and hid myself, but this helps to provide some useful techniques. It even looks at safety snacks that you can have that are basically going to minimize your risk of injuring yourself when you're home alone, which I thought was brilliant. It then covers some things that I was more expecting, such as what to do if you hear the fire alarm going off, things that are, of course, about getting out alive. So some of it was expected, but yeah, it covered a lot of different things that I hadn't initially considered, and as I said, might not be things that I'd thought about as a child. I don't remember if the phone ever rang when I was on my own, but certainly I was terrified of somebody coming to the house in those 3 minutes that, my mother was at the corner shop or whatever. So I think definitely it can provide some reassurance. It's done very creatively. We obviously have the children in Mickey's safety clubhouse, and then we cut to different clips of them acting out what Mickey is talking about so we can see it being illustrated. It's very well edited, very well put together. It's not too long either. The whole thing is about 10-15 minutes. And I feel like that's the perfect length of time to give a decent amount of information without bombarding children with too much. So it's creative, it's well edited. Mickey is obviously a fantastic teacher with this. There is a lot of really useful information. Yes, some of it might be slightly dated, such as people not really having landlines nowadays, but I still think in general it's something that holds up 30 plus years later. If you're a Disney fan or a Mickey fan, it's absolutely worth watching. It's a little cheesy in places, but it works really well. I rather enjoyed it, and it definitely gave me some food for thought as well, and also triggered that memory of watching out of the bedroom window, terrified for all of 3 minutes or something. So definitely an interesting experience and one that I do recommend.